And welcome back to No Tilt Worlds for Group C action on this Sunday morning for some of you, afternoon for others, and maybe even evening, maybe even tomorrow, almost getting very close for some of you around the world. Hi, I'm Rich Slayton, Clash Royale League caster in English. And let's take a look at our video. And let's take a look at the Group G results from earlier today. And every team needs to be on notice in this tournament right now. There are no easy wins. You are never guaranteed a way through. We've seen Mexico fall. We've seen Spain fall. France nearly got taken out by Greece. And right now we have a beautiful matchup between the United States and Peru. Both teams have a lot of talent, and the U.S. cannot take Peru lightly, despite what you saw there, a very, very talented roster. Keep an eye, of course, on Mini Minter, who's probably the biggest star on the Peruvian side, but all of these players have some good experience. Eduardo, Lord Cass, and Relo all in the mix today. So we will see if they can pull off yet another upset. It has been an event full of upsets so far, as we already mentioned. Mexico and Spain, both falling in matches that a lot of people felt they should have won. Of course, if you did check out my my roster analysis video I did with Koji-san from the Spanish stream and the mobile Matt over on my channel, youtube.com/Rich Slayton, I did pick Romania as one of my sleeper picks, and they came out and did great work against Spain today. So the U.S. cannot take Peru lightly. Air Surfer and Oh Yeah coming out as their 2v2 duo for the U.S., Eduardo and Relo, representing Peru. So 100% not the pair I would have expected for 2v2 for the American squad. Air Surfer played a little bit of 2v2 in Season 1 of CRL North America. Oh Yeah, I don't believe has ever played competitive 2v2, but certainly has been practicing a lot if he's going to be making the appearance here. Oh Yeah, most famous for closing out Immortals CRL North American Championship in King of the Hill when Trainer Luis sent him in to be a swerve and get things done, and he clinched that victory and sent Immortals to Tokyo for that 2018 World Championship. And here we go. It's going to be, we've seen this one a lot, going to be in both directions. The Hog, Giant Skeleton, Lumberjack with Freeze Construction. And while Peru draws first blood, the bigger hits go to the U.S. Now in the lead as we reach the midway point of regulation time. Giant Skeleton in front, Hog Rider behind. And pretty easily defended. Only 8 spent to defend 10, so that works out well in the U.S.'s favor. You can see slightly ahead on Elixir right now. Log cycled by Peru. EQ, interesting use there, but, you know, every bit of spell damage is valuable, and the U.S. so far ahead, probably why they used it. Plenty of Elixir available to play defense against this one. Giant Skeleton down for the Peruvians. Eduardo and Relo, both fairly experienced. This is one of the stronger number 2 seeds, or one of the stronger non-number 1 seeds overall in the tournament. Of course, I already mentioned Mini Minter. But Eduardo, a 7.4K player who has represented his team, his country a few times already in World Royale League and in CR Nations. And of course has played for Sandstorm back in the RPL days. Also with Eduardo in this 2v2 duo, Relo, who a little less experienced, but is a 7.4K player as well. And you also talking about, oh yeah, his partner Air Surfer, who is one of the best Expo players on the planet, and as people say a lot, one of the best online competitors in Clash Royale, and has had some pretty big wins, a couple sweeps in King of the Hill in CRL on top of that. A solid CRL player, but an amazing online player. We'll see if that translates to 2v2. Has not played 2v2 since those CRL North America days on TSM. Hog Rider gets through. So now the USA takes the lead back in the final minute 30 of sudden death overtime. Plenty of elixir available for defense. And Bomb Tower does come down for the Hog Rider. EQ and Snowball in. That Hog could get a hit. And it does. And it does. Poison down. The US does not have enough time, I don't believe. One more tick, two more ticks. Peru takes game number 1 in an event full of upsets. Peru suddenly puts the US on their back foot. Now, we did just see the same thing happen where Greece took game 1 of 2v2 off of the French and then threw in game 2, and the French stormed back to go for the 2-set sweep. So it is no guarantee, of course, taking that first game, but Peru has to feel good getting that first one off of the US. Just in the end, the Hog EQ able to get right past that bomb tower, get on tower. The mini P.E.K.K.A goes outside rather than inside. Let's take a look at the game recap provided by Stats Royale. If you want to find out what your next chest is, of course, check out Stats Royale both online and in their app. Air Surfer and Oh Yeah, left-hand side, and Eduardo and Rello. And a very similar look from both sides. This seems to be the most common meta idea so far. The Inferno Tower, though, winning out over the Bomb Tower in these exchanges. A couple of those pushes built up by the U.S. just didn't quite come to full fruition. And now the U.S. finding themselves in a hole 0-1. Air Surfer and Oh Yeah needing to get one back here. Peru definitely does have a high-quality team. Just taking a look at their lineup, a lot of players are 7K players, which if you look at a lot of the teams that are in this league that are not filled and stacked with CRL players, a lot of them don't have many players who've broken 7K, but looking through the entire roster for Peru, every single player on this team is a 7K player. Mini Minter, of course, 8265 personal best, which is absolutely astounding. Mini Minter, a very, very talented player. Expect to see him in the 1v1. But everybody from the bottom to top, She with a 7298 personal best. Rello, as we've been seeing, 7437. This is a Peruvian team that can definitely ball, so do not want to see the U.S. take these guys lightly at all. So here we are into game number 2. Mini P.E.K.K.A and Musketeer left-hand side. Fireball gets some solid value. A second Musketeer down for the U.S. Trying to poison that off, but not going to make enough room for that Musketeer to get through on tower. First minute away, and Peru behind by just a little bit, and it's going to be Lumberjack, Minor Loon, and a defensive freeze. That's a sharp defensive freeze here out of Peru. You know, defensive freezes can really be one way or the other, but they knew they were in trouble. Took care of the Lumberjack, took care of the Balloon, let the Inferno Tower do its job. That was a solid freeze on defense from the Peruvians. Of course, now they are very, very low on elixir. We'll see if the U.S. has enough to capitalize. They go second Balloon behind the Ice Golem. Inferno Tower not in cycle, so this should get a connection. Snowball down, but a well-timed freeze from the U.S., and Bats take care of the Mini P.E.K.K.A on the opposite side. Second drop does not get down, or the final drop does not get down, but that is a ton of damage done for the Americans. Left-hand lane down to 577. Zap prevents any extra damage from that Musketeer, and, well, Game 1 was close back and forth. Game 2 so far, all USA. Going to be very curious to see if the teased minor nerf does actually come through and what that does to the meta both in 2v2 and 1v1. 321 left-hand side. Giant skeletons in both lanes for the Peruvians. Fireball gets down. This is going to be very, very difficult. Notice the high placement of the bomb tower here, not wanting to give an easy EQ for both the bomb tower and the princess tower. Freeze does come in. Peru going back to the same deck. I don't think that's going to pay off for them, though. This is the difference in experience level, playing 2v2. Down to 658 right-hand lane, final 20 seconds. Giant Skeleton dies at the top. Hog Rider down. Defensive freeze just to make sure everything gets cleaned up. And again, notice that bomb tower placement going really high, making it difficult to get that earthquake on the bomb tower and princess tower quickly, which is why you saw in the previous sequence the earthquake just go to the princess tower rather than to both, just to the bomb tower rather than both the princess tower and the bomb tower. So smart play, a solid adjustment for the US in game number 2. You saw in game 1 the US playing that bomb tower low over and over again, and the EQ just wreaking havoc and really giving the Peruvians the game in that case. But in game number 2, solid adjustments, different deck look, and noticing when they had that Inferno Tower out of cycle, going with the Ice Golem that was already on the board, throwing the balloon behind it, taking easy advantage, and a very nicely timed freeze gets the tower down for the US on the left-hand side, and then it was all just about playing defense. And again, that slight adjustment, bomb tower high, not giving the easy EQ placements. And here we are, game number 3 coming up next. United States looking very, very good in game 2. Peru running the same basic idea back-to-back. We'll see. It might have been the exact same deck, in fact, running that back-to-back. So we'll see if Peru makes any changes for game number 3. Again, a very talented squad. They've been working very, very hard getting ready for this event. The U.S., though, really stacked roster from top to bottom. Let's take a look at the recap stats, courtesy of our friends at Stats Royale. And this one's very, very different. It only took 1 balloon. That was it. And the rest of that, or 2 balloons. 2 balloons, and that was it. 1 to figure out the defense, and 1 to take advantage of the out-of-cycle Inferno Tower. And the U.S. takes game number 2. Despite getting 5 Hog Riders down, not able to drop a tower, is the Peruvian squad. So here we are. Game number 3 about to get underway. Very curious to see what kind of adjustments Peru can make. They looked very out of their depth in that second game. And you can look very good in one game of 2v2. It's certainly possible. The question is, what's your deck depth, right? What's your deck pool like in 2v2? We saw in CRL, some teams basically ran the same thing the entire season, and while they might have had a win here or there, once they became too predictable, it was easier to run counters for it. So we'll see if Peru goes a different direction or not in this game, and they do. It is Miner and Bats to open up for the Peruvians. And immediate Ewiz Hog Rider opposite direction, MK down for the Perus. Giant Skeleton picks up the Mega Knight. Mini P.E.K.K.A. cycled in the back for Peru. So I gotta wonder if the Peruvians are running a Ram Rider with this Mega Knight. That's the most common pairing, but we could see anything. Miner doesn't really mean anything in 2v2. You can throw a Miner in pretty much any deck in 2v2 and get some value out of it. This might just be a Miner control deck, though. Easily picked up. A risky... No, Tornado is banned, so is Graveyard. But Tornado is banned. Still going to the back there in 2v2, a little bit risky. A cheeky Snowball can move that Miner onto King Tower, which will make a Miner control deck much... So it's Miner Wall Breakers. And the U.S. has to eat those on the right-hand side. Takes down 1, but not 2, and now that it's had to load up left-hand lane. Mini P.E.K.K.A. high for the Peruvians. Giant Skeleton. Ewiz behind. Hog Rider going to try to slide past that Giant Skeleton. Skeleton does not quite get into Death Bomb range on the tower. Ewiz trying to disrupt things, but only going to get a shot on that left-hand tower. Not enough to let the Hog Rider break all the way through. And hitting just about 10, so hitting that Giant Skeleton cycled into the left-hand lane. Into their weak tower is the U.S. The U.S. has done a good job of elixir management so far, especially in that game number 2. Found themselves way ahead. And their Rocket does get a whole lot done. Mega Knight has to come in behind, but that was a solid Rocket Mega Knight combination for Peru. Now they have a healthy Mega Knight going the opposite direction. 14 elixir for the Americans to defend. They pick up the Miner on the back end, but can they hold off on the front end? Mega Knight still alive, does go down. Now Hog Rider opposite direction. The defense has been much better on both sides in this game, in this third and final game. Bomb tower high this time. Poison does get the Magic Archer in as well, and one big-time connection, 1245, going to be under 1200 on the left-hand side, not quite under 1100. The U.S. continuing to cycle that giant skeleton in the back. That might be a little bit deep. They're going to have to go with something high again to deal with that Mega Knight. Log comes down to try to stop, and Snowball has to come down as well, down to 805 left-hand lane. They're going to choose to ignore Magic Archer on the right-hand side, go in Hog Rider. High Magic Archer does not target the Inferno Tower. Can they get around to their second Hog Rider? Cycling. Skeletons, and E is behind the giant skeleton. So here we go. Second Hog Rider down, just in time for the Inferno to drop. Hog Rider should get one connection, and it does. Does not get a second, though. Down to 13-13. Final 90 seconds of regulation play. Peru in a good spot, potentially. Could take this game. A little spell damage on top. Poison goes to the... Miner goes to the inside. Poison goes down. Peru should get this. Peru does it. Peru does it. The U.S. goes down in 3 games in the 2v2 set, and... oh man, don't call it an upset. Don't call it an upset yet, but the U.S. in a tough spot, and this continues to be a story over and over again. There is no team that has been a completely easy out. Even Greece, with their massive mistakes against France, made it look scary for France for a moment until the end of game number 2. It's a distinctive possibility that we could see a number of number 1 seeds. You know, if I'm any other number 1 seed right now, if I'm Germany, if I'm Argentina, any of these number 1 seeds at the moment, I'm looking at this and feeling a little bit nervous. I'm seeing the way that some of these other teams are coming out and what they're getting done, and wondering, okay, like, I cannot take this lightly. I cannot look and go, hey, I'm a CRL level. These guys are not playing in CRL level, and I can come out and take them. I can get it done. Anybody can win on any day. 2v2 goes the way of Peru. The U.S. now needing to win 2 sets in a row. Of course, we are going into head-to-head play, but you got to remember, Peru has some nasty head-to-head players to come out in this 1v1 set. I don't remember if Mini Minter was on the lineup, the active roster for today. I have to assume that he was. I believe that I saw him on that list. So whoever comes out against Mini Minter in the 1v1, you're playing against an 8.2k player. You're playing against a legit Clash Royale player. No question about it. So you got to come out strong in this 1v1 set. Very curious to see who the U.S. sends out against most likely Mini Minter. And again, as I mentioned, Mini Minter, an 8.2 or almost 8.3k player. So if that is the choice, which it most likely should be, going to be a very, very tough uphill battle for the Americans. And it is going to be Mini Minter against the God RF. We have a great match on our hands, folks. I am really pumped for this 1v1. RF, of course, just took second place at one of Revel's tournaments, coming in just behind Bag after a 9-game, 2-set final. So RF playing at a very, very high level. Mini Minter, though, of course, also really, really nasty. Has represented Peru before the World Royale League. Number 1 at the Red Bull MEO USA on Part 2 in 2018. All the way back to 2017 with some performances in RPL Americas and the Clan Royale League, the old school CRL. And currently with LA Gaming. So, E-Drag, and interesting to see the Barbarians out there today. That's a unique wrinkle. Or the Barbarian Hut, excuse me. Bandit gets a dash directly onto the tower. Down to 7-10. Mini Minter out to an early lead. Barb Hut now into the weak side. Miner goes to the back behind the Barb Barrel. Battle Healer picks up the Barbarian. Miner, though, going to do a ton of damage. Battle Healer taking the long way around. And this tower, all the way already now in big spell range. So Mini Minter in a great spot, has barely taken a paper cut so far in this opening game. And now Elixir Golem down for the God RF. Right into a P.E.K.K.A. and a Baby Dragon. E-Dragon now setting up with that Elixir Golem. And Barbhut is going to pop a whole bunch of Barbarians here in a moment. Baby Dragon down. Poison to get the Barbarians off the board. And RF should be back to another E-Golem here very, very soon. Has to pick up that. There he goes. Picks up the minor. Final 40 seconds. Mini Minter can take that off the board whenever he wants. You expect that he is going to poison before we reach less than 8 seconds. Or fewer than 8 seconds. Electro Dragon and Baby Dragon working on the P.E.K.K.A. High poison for Mini Minter. Battle Healer down, and RF just going to keep the pressure on at this point. So Mini Minter decides to wait until sudden death to pop that poison. Doesn't need it. Minor gets in, 6 HP. Poison comes down. Mini Minter takes game number 1. And oh my word, another number 1 seed in a whole lot of trouble right now. The U.S. needs to win 2 in a row. RF has to show up here against Mini Minter, or the U.S. will be yet another number 1 seed to fall in their opening game. This has been absolutely wild and a whole lot of fun to watch, that's for sure. Mini Minter about to possibly get a big one here for Peru, and RF has to come out and really clutch up to extend the U.S.'s hopes. Now again, this region overall, the U.S. does have 2 other matches where it should pick up victories, so this does not mean the U.S. would be out if they take a loss here against Mini Minter and Peru, but would definitely give a nice feather in the cap to Peru and make it so the U.S. can't make any more mistakes. And now we have a lot of teams that are in that position. So question what the God RF is going to do in this case. Didn't go graveyard in game number 1. Will he go graveyard in game number 2? It's common to fall to sort of your comfort or what you're known for in game 2, a best of 3 set, winning or losing. So very curious to see what choice the God RF makes as we go into this second game of the best of 3 1v1 set. Man, the performances, the clutch performances by players from some of these underrated teams. Flaw for Romania today was astounding. And of course, talking about Nacho over for Chile, what he did on the opening day of action. Mini Minter taking game number 1, stats courtesy of Stats Royale. The God RF not able to get that real flow of Elixir Golems that you want, right? Got put on his back foot early on and never able to get in that overwhelming state of Elixir Golem after Elixir Golem after Elixir Golem. Mini Minter did a great job using his spells, but a great job of not rushing to the finish line and playing things calm and focused. So this is going to be a big one. This is the No Tilt Worlds, the World Cup of Clash Royale to kick off 2020. 32 teams, 8 groups. The top 2 from each group will move on to the Sweet 16. After that, it's just a bracketed tournament all the way to the World Final, to the Global Championship for one of these squads. So again, the top 2 teams from each group, including this group, Group C, will move on to the knockout stage, much like a typical World Cup type format. But you definitely don't want to lose one early. And for these number 1 seeds, it has been a nightmare of a tournament. It's been really, really frightening. A big part of that, you have to wonder, is how many of the CRL players, how many of the high-level talent. Now, you can't accuse the God RF of that, because RF has been playing at a brilliant level during this offseason. But let's go ahead and take a look at a little fact about No Tilt Worlds. Okay, so this one's in Spanish. I'm happy to talk over it for a second. Here is, I'm going to turn down the volume on that for just a moment. Here you go. So, No Tilt Worlds, this is giving you the format. There was a group stage from a random draw, is what Koji-san in Spanish is saying. They didn't play the English one on here that I did voiceover for, by the way. So, random draw for the group stages. The groups, of course, are assigned by region just for scheduling and time period. And then as we move forward, they'll go into the bracketed round, and this is explaining the format. We open up with 2v2. Then we move into 1v1, and if it's a tie after 2 sets, we go to King of the Hill. You probably already know that at this point. King of the Hill, each team nominates 3 players. Each player has 1 life, and the first team to eliminate all 3 players from the other squad in that third and final set takes the victory. So the set 1, 2v2, is a best of 3. Set 2, 1v1, is best of 3. And then King of the Hill is the really exciting, hey, let's put our best out there and see what they can pull off. All right, let's go ahead and bring the volume back up from the feed, and here we are. We are back and getting ready for our next game of 1v1. God RF in a hole against Mini Minter, 1 up for Peru, both in sets and now in games in this best of 3 2v2 set. By the way, if you're just joining us, hi, I'm Rich Slayton, English caster for Clash Royale League alongside my friend Andrew Guy, who's not here today, but we'll be doing some of the English streams as we move forward in this tournament. So here we go, game number 2. Mini Minter, game in hand. Peru, set in hand. The God RF has been in worse situations, but needs to win 2 in a row right now to go to that third and final King of the Hill set. Both players taking their time here in our second game. Of course, this no longer means beatdown. It used to mean beatdown. The long wait used to be, hey, it's going to be Golem, going to be Lava Hound. But now, really, you even see fast cycle players just maybe not loving their starting hand, or maybe loving their starting hand and deciding to just hold on and wait to see what their opponent does. First minute away, and nothing but emotes from the gallery, and RF splits archers in the back. So most likely either Hog EQ or Expo. Very interesting E-Wiz behind the split archers. Miner down. Does go right to the E-Wiz. Bandit dashes on in. Knight comes down to pick up the Bandit, but that's going to be a Bandit dash and some Baby Dragon splash damage on that left-hand tower. RF goes right-hand side. Maybe it's going to be Graveyard. That Bar Barrel had a Graveyard feeling to it, but very curious to see what RF chooses to do here. Maybe just putting some pressure, forcing a response out of his opponent. Poison down for RF right-hand lane, and this is where what he wants to do. He wants to play right-hand lane now, just not let Mini Minter keep building up on the left-hand side. Miner in, Bandit picked up by the Knight going high to the number 1 spot. E-Wiz takes care of the Miner in the back right-hand corner. No splash damage from the Baby Dragon. And it is Graveyard, so felt like it a little bit. You saw that Bar Barrel maybe threatening to go with a Graveyard push and throws the poison behind, but decides to go play in the same lane with the counter push possible. But E-Wiz, Baby Dragon, and Bandit going to do a lot of damage on this left-hand side. Do not let that Inferno Dragon get anywhere near the tower. 1687 on RF's left-hand tower. Mini Minter has not taken much damage so far. It's been all offense for the Peruvian. RF has gotten down 1 Graveyard poison, but has not been enough. And the E-Wiz will easily take care of the Inferno Dragon. Very healthy P.E.K.K.A. now crossing the bridge for Peru. This Miner control deck just giving all sorts of trouble to RF right now. And that P.E.K.K.A. might get a shot on tower, just barely doesn't hit. So now RF going opposite direction. E-Wiz down on the Graveyard. Final 90 seconds of sudden death overtime, but E-Wiz Baby Dragon doing a decent job defending. Mini Minter does take about almost 1,000 HP of damage, but maybe 800 HP of damage, but he's the one currently in the driver's seat. E-Wiz down to help out with that Miner. Very well defended by RF. That was a solidly constructed defense. The Archer's taking care of the Miner first. E-Wiz coming down to help with the Knight up front. We'll see if he can hold on here. Has plenty of elixir. Bomb tower now. So that bomb tower is going to give him a little bit better read on where those miners will go. Certainly not going to the front anymore. Definitely not going to the front left. Graveyard down. Poison now trying to get value. E-Wiz, Baby Dragon, P.E.K.K.A., and the Bandit does walk into the poison for a moment. Bomb tower helping Miner, should go to the back. Goes to the inside. And does get picked up a little bit, but Archer dies. And now that P.E.K.K.A. Going to get pulled up high by the bomb tower, but there's just too much going on here. Mini Minter has the God RF spread so thin right now. Doing a great job of keeping the field all spread out. And there you go. Tower down. Peru upsets the U.S. Peru upsets the U.S. Wow. The number 2 seed taking out the number 1 seed. This tournament, folks, this tournament is completely insane. If you're a betting man, don't make any on this tournament. Or go ahead and go crazy and start betting on underdogs, because anybody can beat anybody here. It is Clash Royale. It is definitely one of those games where a good read can give you a big advantage, but wow, it has been rough, and that was really well played by Mini Minter. Again, an almost 8.3K player, 8.2K, nearly 8.3K player. Exceptionally dangerous, exceptionally talented. And you saw there why. Did a good job against RF, kept them spread thin, and you got to wonder if he kind of expected RF to go graveyard game number 2. I talked about it as we were leading into it. It's very common to go to your comfort in game 2 of a best of 3 set. RF does. Goes with a slightly different graveyard construction, obviously, but still he does go that direction. Mini Minter makes a good choice, plays it really well, and RF just never really seemed like he was in that best of 3. Very, very talented, playing at some of his best Clash Royale in 2020 with his head-to-head play, but could not get by Mini Minter today. So Peru comes out and 2-0s the US. Peru takes them down, takes the 2v2, takes the 1v1, and well, I'm a believer in this United States roster. A lot of people online were a little skeptical of it, and this is not going to quiet those yells on Twitter. So we will see what the U.S. can do to regroup and come out in their second game in Group C. Let's go ahead and take a look at the stats. Our game recap courtesy of Stats Royale, the God RF and Mini Minter. And you can see Mini Minter just keeping RF spread so thin. It was the Bandit, really, that created a lot of trouble. A miner, of course, was a big part of it, but that Bandit continuously forced RF to look at different spots on the board, and the one big Bandit dash got through early, put him in a big-time hole. And you see, able to get down 4 graveyards, but not able to get much out of them. Poison on defense, Goblins on defense, E-Wiz, Barb Barrel, and Baby Dragon, so many ways to deal with that graveyard push. So Mini Minter able to play defense effectively and come out on top. And Peru probably, most likely, has clinched their way into the next round. Now look, they still have 2 more matches. They still have 2 more teams they have to play against. But it's going to be very, very hard for those other 2 teams to beat Peru if they're playing this way. And Peru just took out the most important one, beating the U.S. Most likely, Peru will pick up one of those other 2 matches and now be at least in the top 2 moving on to our knockout stage, our group of 16. Let's take a look at the standings right now in the group. Peru gets 3 points off of the 2-0 sweep. And by the way, also a 2-0 sweep, very, very valuable with that set tiebreaker. The U.S., an 0-2 sweep the opposite direction, falls now currently at the bottom. So very curious to see what the U.S. can do to get back in this one. We are not done today. There's going to be more Clash Royale coming. We'll be back in a little bit with our next match. We will see you soon. And welcome back to No Tilt Worlds, the final match of this morning run. As you can see so far in Group C, Peru upsetting the U.S. There will be questions there about how that happened. Of course, Mini Mentor playing a big role in that one, but the United States struggling in 2v2 despite having two of the best 2v2 players on the planet in the God RF and Razor on that lineup. Coming up next, though, that's behind us. Let's move forward to Colombia and the Dominican Republic. And Colombia has a pretty solid lineup here. Código and Victor, both with CRL experience. Canelo and Mahed, both on the lineup today as well. Probably the least experienced, or certainly the least experienced roster in this Group C. The Dominican Republic coming out today with Diego Slayer, Brian RD, Yan, and Hard Style. So some good ladder experience on here, but not the same level of competitive experience out of this Dominican squad. We will see how they fare up against Colombia. Of course, it's been a weekend of upsets from top to bottom. I'm not going to go through all of those at the moment, but if you've been paying attention, no team has been safe. Even teams that seem like they have no shot have been upsetting squads that seem like they have things locked down, and the gap here might not be as wide as it seems between Colombia and the Dominican Republic. Of course, though, Colombia does have quite a lot of experience under its belt. Victor and Código both in the lineups today. Código, of course, has played in all 3 seasons of CRL, Latin America and West. Victor was in CRL Latin America with Cream alongside Código, and then most recently appeared with Undead Gaming in CCS in the Clash Contender Series. We have seen a lot of CCS players in this tournament so far, and congrats to Matt Rutledge and that entire team for making that go on. A lot of those players appear to be moving into CRL, and look at that, it is the former Cream teammates, Código and Victor coming out for Colombia, Yan and Brian coming out in 2v2 for the DR. Brian, an 8.1k player. Yan, not quite the same, 6580, the personal best for his 2v2 partner. So let's go ahead and jump into our first best of 3 set and see if the DR can continue the trend of upsets on this insane day. 2 number 1 seeds, both fallen on this Sunday. So it is Giant Skeleton Musketeer, probably going to be Hog Rider Lumberjack Freeze for Colombia. That has been the most popular deck on the day. Magic Archer gets eaten alive by the poison, and it's Balloon instead for Colombia. Very, very interesting. Have not seen a ton of Balloon today, but when we have seen it, it has worked. That Balloon does get a connection, and a big one. Musketeer down now to respond to the counter push. Battle Healer will die pretty easily. Mega Minion will also not create much of a problem. 12:48 right-hand tower in Colombia out to an early lead and getting aggressive with a second Balloon early. This Balloon does still connect, and the DR choosing to go with the Elixir Golem in 2v2. I'm gonna say it right now. I do not think this is a great idea in 2v2. We'll see. Maybe they've tested this out and believe it'll do better, but it seems with the number of troops, the number of spells, and now, of course, Bomb Tower on top of that, the likelihood that you'll find a building, Elixir Golem does not seem like a smart idea in 2v2. Almost the exact opposite of Giant Skeleton, where Giant Skeleton thrives in 2v2 because of all those specific factors. The opposite direction. It seems that the Elixir Golem would struggle in 2v2 for those exact same reasons. So Código and Victor easily take care of that right-hand tower, easily defend the push, and now with a minute left, double Elixir time, they are very, very far ahead. So here we go. Moving to the left-hand lane. Now Colombia can dictate where this fight takes place, and the DR just has to fight into the same lane. They cannot really. They might try to push the opposite lane, take some pressure off, but they're really forced to play on this side now. Elixir Golem down again, and you're going to see there's two, and they're going to Elixir Golem split. They're going into both lanes. And this just feels like free Elixir for the Colombians. This Rage on the right-hand side is going to help. But Baby Dragon not going to even get that splash on tower until the final moments. And double Lumberjacks, Bridge, Pocket, Balloon. And yeah, Freeze comes down on top of it. And that was a resounding no to the Elixir Golem in 2v2. Maybe someone has the magic for it. Maybe someone has a solution of how to make that work in 2v2. I just really think that with the quantity of cards in play, that the board is typically so much more full. There are going to be troops there to stop that Elixir Golem. There's so many spells to clean up both the support behind it and, of course, those little droplets of Elixir at the end. And then you put on top of that the likelihood that you will face a building, Bomb Tower being a very popular one. It just seems like Elixir Golem in 2v2 is not going to have the same value you have it in 1v1. And this is one of the challenges, talking about 2v2 in this tournament. It has not always worked out that way so far, but a lot of these players, some players get to scrim their 2v2 against high-level competition, and you have to imagine that Codigo and Victor have had that chance to really scrim 2v2 against top-level players, especially Codigo having played 2v2 in CRL. Their opponents, though, you got to wonder where they developed that their 2v2 skill set and their 2v2 deck pool, right? You can go and play random 2v2 matches, but what does that tell you about the deck that you're actually building? And then that you get your scrims out, and unless you're playing against a certain level of competition, you might be able to pull something off like that. So there might be a matchup where that Elixir Golem is more valuable in 2v2, but I'd be very surprised to see it. I think the Elixir Golem in 2v2 is probably a bad idea top to bottom. We just saw it work pretty poorly there. Victor and Codigo playing a very clean opening game for Colombia, giving their squad the lead in this opening set. But of course, no lead has been safe so far in this tournament. We've seen some amazing sweeps and reverse sweeps. Of course, on Friday, if you were here, you saw Chile come from behind a double reverse sweep against Costa Rica on the back of Nacho. They fell in the 2v2, and then Nacho won 5 straight, swept the 1v1, reverse swept King of the Hill. So no lead is safe in this tournament. Let's move on to game number 2, the DR and Colombia. So we'll see if Colombia goes the same way again. Miner in. The DR now. Giant Skeleton battle at the bridge. And does that Magic Archer step in range? He does. And there you go. Lumberjack does a good job sliding through. Does not get enough room for the balloon to get on tower, but death damage will get in, and it's Colombia taking first blood as we pass the first minute of regulation. Codigo arrived late to CRL West in the spring season, along with Luke Dubs. And Cream's CRL spring season was really a rough one from top to bottom, finishing 11th place in that season. At first, it seemed like Cream would do great with Lindsay early on, and then Codigo and Luke Dubs joining later in the season, but was not able to put it together. The 2v2 struggled for Cream, and then in the fall season again, they came out and were able to make 7th, a slight improvement, but Cream never quite lived up to what they were hoping for. So we'll see where Codigo ends up in this 2020 season. Cream looking like a very different roster this time around. Giant Skeleton battle at the bridge. And Lumberjack Balloon, right-hand lane. Ewiz trying to get in, but played outside, or played on the inside, picked up by the Lumberjack, and that might not get damage. It does not, but a second balloon, and we've seen this. This is common in 2v2 overall, whether you're talking graveyard decks, hog rider decks, whatever it might be. That continuing cycle, and the balloon does not get that last bat off. That balloon could have gotten much closer, maybe at least death damage, but one bat survives the snowball. And now it's the DR's turn to put some real damage on. Hog Rider raged up, 1253 suddenly. Yan and Brian roar out to the lead in this second game of 2v2. That's a nasty freeze. Double, one offensive, one defensive. But this time the bats do come off. Snowball comes down, but a raised up balloon will get one connection. The bats should prevent a second, but 971, and suddenly Colombia back in the lead, threatening to go a 2-0 sweep in 2v2. Miner to the inside. Magic Archer goes to the outside, trying to pick it up. Down to 507. And look at that bar barrel, making just enough room, not quite in Death Bomb range, but does get some damage on the Magic Archer. Here we go. 30 seconds into sudden death overtime. Hog Rider behind the giant skeleton. High bomb tower. Not giving any EQ possibility to Yan and Brian. And that's going to be death damage. 179 right-hand side, easily poisoned out. And Colombia will take the 2-0 sweep in the opening 2v2 set. Very well played, and that was nicely constructed top to bottom. Good opportunistic play from Cody Go and Victor, recognizing that they could go with those balloons back to back to back and keep the pressure on the right-hand side. And you saw, again, the high bomb tower placement, not giving any opportunity for an EQ to wipe it off and get tower damage and potentially steal that one out from under them. So Colombia makes it look easy in 2v2, taking the 2-0 sweep. And now we move into the 1v. Remember, neither Cody Go nor Victor is available for that 1v1 set after having played 2v2. So we'll see what Colombia chooses to go with for that 1v1. And of course, the DR has a lot of ground to make up, has to win 1v1, has to win King of the Hill in order to get the victory here. And they are up against a very, very difficult and much more experienced squad. This Group C does have a lot of talent in it. Between the U.S., we just saw what Peru can do. Mini Minter, unbelievably talented player. And then now Colombia as well does have a very solid roster. So there really aren't any easy outs. The DR is the biggest question mark in Group C. And they're going to have a tough route. If they lose here to Colombia, I don't see the DR beating both Peru and the U.S. That's going to be a very, very hard road to climb. So much like Greece in our earlier match today, Dominican Republic really needs to get back in this one. Let's look at some of the game recap with stats coming from our friends at Stats Royale. Cody Go and Victor getting those balloons down. Took 6 of them, but that was more than enough to get the victory here. Brian and Yan really not able to get much offense going. You see only 4 Hog Riders played. They were on the back foot almost the entire time, not able to really get into a rhythm and put pressure on their opponents. And you saw not a lot of damage came in as well. So we're heading into 1v1 with a significant advantage for the Colombians. Very curious to see who both squads send out for this next set. This is the No Tilt Worlds. It's the World Cup of Clash Royale starting off 2020. We are in multiple languages, by the way. We're in English, Spanish, French, I think also German. I think there's 7 or 8 different languages. So if you're here and you're going, well, Rich, my English is okay, but not phenomenal, go ahead and take a look on Twitter because we are broadcasting in a wide variety of languages for many of these different matches. So if English isn't your thing, I believe Ashtax, who's a great caster, is leading us off in French. And we do have our names in Canelo and Diego Slayer as the 2 different players coming out for this 1v1 set. Canelo, 7.7k player. Diego Slayer, 7.6. Very curious to see Canelo coming out for Colombia here. Probably the least experienced player in terms of competitive Clash Royale. Definitely a solid ladder player, but does have the least competitive experience of anyone on the Colombian roster. Diego Slayer, of course, as I just said, a 7.6k player. So 2 guys, this is a good opportunity, actually. You know, you got to think here, maybe Colombia opening the door a little bit. Of course, their coaches might know something about their 1v1 player that we don't yet. So we'll, of course, see that as these 2 go head-to-head, Canelo and Diego Slayer, in just a moment. Best of 3 for that 1v1 set. And just to remind you, if you're just tuning in, Colombia up 1 set right now, so a win here would close things out and give them their first win. And of course, a win for the Dominican Republic would send us to a 3rd and final set, that King of the Hill. And also, earlier on today, the U.S. falling to Peru off of a great performance by Mini Minter and a questionable performance in the 2v2. And then, of course, as we opened up today, Spain falling to Romania. Unbelievable. We'll go ahead and talk about that more a little bit later, but the upsets have been left and right. And then France nearly stumbling against Greece, but Greece having troubles in their second game of 2v2, and then completely just off the mark in 1v1. Azelis closing things out against a first 5-second Expo, which you can't do that against a player of that level. But that's in the past. We have at least 2 more games of Clash Royale left to be played, possibly more, as these 2 squads get ready for our second set of the day. So let's go ahead and see some votes in the chat. If you believe that it's going to be Canelo taking the win, go ahead and throw a 1 in the chat. If you believe that it's going to be Diego Slayer, go ahead and throw a 2. Let's get a little straw poll going in our chat and see how you guys feel about this 1v1 set. I'm going to get some water in here, even though I'm on camera, because I need it. So looking at the chat to see if there's any voting coming in. Oh, let's go ahead. They're showing the format one more time. I'm gonna lower the volume here on the Spanish for a second and tell you what's going on. So we have 8 different groups in this tournament, all from a random draw. Of course, the groups are selected by region for timing and scheduling purposes. So there are North American regions, 1 Asian region, or American regions, 1 Asian region, and European regions. The top 2 teams from each region advance on to the bracket. 16 teams going through. They will compete in that way. It's going to be 2v2, then 1v1, and then finish off with King of the Hill, if necessary. And then the grand final, once we get all the way through the bracket, is going to be a best of 5 sets with 2v2, 3 1v1s, and if necessary, a King of the Hill. But that's going to be quite a ways off. And again, I did an English voiceover for this one. I'll have to figure out how to get this one into the clean feed next time so you guys can hear my beautiful voice the way I did some amazing voiceover. Let me tell you guys, these dulcet tones work really, really well when necessary. All right, let's go back, take a look at the votes in the chat, and the 1s are flying in. I've seen a few 2s, but it has been 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1, 1-1-1. Everyone's saying Canelo probably going to close things out for Colombia. So, and I see a 3. We get 1-3 for someone who's voting that both players' phones explode at the same time and that the match is canceled due to our having to clean up the mess from exploding phones. That's what I'm going to guess the 3 is. A lot of 1s, though, so we will see if Canelo can live up to the chat's belief in his abilities in a few moments here. Man, if you guys have been with us all day, thank you very much. Of course, you can go ahead and follow me on the screen right there, at Rich Slayton on Twitter. And of course, please, if you're here, you're at YouTube already. Go check out my channel, youtube.com/Rich Slayton, where I have a almost weekly Clash Royale esports news show that includes roster rumors, new signings, and then recaps and highlights from some of the competitive esports action from around the world, including Orange Crown League, No Tilt, things like that. And then also my Inside the Play series, where we dive deep into some of the best moments and smartest plays in Clash Royale League or in competitive Clash Royale overall. Most recently doing one with Buffmac and some of his great plays. So please go ahead and check out youtube.com/Rich Slayton. But for now, let's jump into our 1v1 set. Hog Rider with Ewiz for Canelo, Diego Slayer, Miner to open things up. So a little latency drop there on the game image. It should repair itself in just a moment. So it is Miner Wall Breakers for Diego Slayer and Pekka Hog for Canelo. Mega Knight. So pretty standard meta deck here for Diego Slayer. Canelo going Hog Exinado with Pekka and Ewiz. Miner to the outside. And the Wall Breakers coming in late for Diego Slayer. Snowball should be enough to stop both of those. Yes, it does. If this doesn't repair itself in the game, I'm going to reload the clean feed, guys, so we can see if we can clean that image up a little bit. Oh, there we go. Back to the pretty picture. Bandit at the bridge, pressure on from Diego Slayer. And I don't know about that King Tower activation. Maybe he didn't have anything better in cycle, and that was the plan there. Maybe he believes that King Tower activation against the miner is going to be super helpful, but that's a Bandit dash getting down to 1297. You know, once your King Tower activation takes you under 1500, that becomes a somewhat questionable move, a challenging choice to be made. Of course, now Miner is going to the safe spot opposite side. Snowball in early. Those wall breakers should connect, and they do with a Bandit dash behind, and it's all downhill right now for Canelo. Diego Slayer all over him. Hog Rider, Executioner, P.E.K.K.A. opposite lane. EQ in to help out. Final 40 seconds here. Diego Slayer with a huge lead suddenly evaporating. Not behind yet, but in a lot more trouble. Had everything sewn up for a second. Canelo could make this difficult. And look at that. So now down so low, don't worry about going in safe spot. Miner goes to the number 3 spot. Wall breakers and Bandit behind. Maybe a bit of an overcommittal on that side, but that's a ton of damage on that King Tower. 1854. And Canelo is going to get the tower here, but Diego Slayer probably not worried about that. Probably more focused on playing defense on his 2 healthy towers with the big lead he has on both sides. So Diego Slayer with some good min-max decisions as we move into sudden death overtime. Miner wall breakers, left-hand lane. Miner runs right into the P.E.K.K.A. Bandit and Mega Knight both get their dash and leap, but not enough to take that P.E.K.K.A. off or get any damage on that tower. And suddenly, Canelo putting together a push opposite direction. Executioner supports that Hog Rider. No hog hits, but EQ in. And Miner not able to distract the Executioner. So suddenly, Canelo roaring back into it. Nice pickup with the skeletons on the Bandit. And Diego Slayer choosing to mostly eat that P.E.K.K.A. Gonna take 2 shots here. This P.E.K.K.A. is proving to be very frustrating for Diego Slayer. What looked like a game completely sewn up. Suddenly, looking in severe danger is Diego Slayer. Miner to turn the Executioner around. Snowball on defense, but that EQ with the Snowball in as well. Hog Rider gets 1 hit. Does not get a second, but 304. Suddenly, Canelo on the brink of stealing this one away from Diego Slayer. And plenty of elixir for Canelo to play defense and set up some offensive pushes. But you have the wall breakers in the pocket. NATO misses one down to 844 left-hand side. And then Miner wall breakers to the King Tower. Wall breakers, though, taken care of. P.E.K.K.A. not going to get a shot on tower. Final 30 seconds. Remember, it is always lowest single tower in these days. So, EQ down. Probably a hog in the pocket, most likely, coming next. 121 on that top right-hand tower. Maybe cycling back to an EQ is Canelo. Miner in. Tornado Snowball taking care of the wall breakers. Miner's not going to be enough. Canelo back to another EQ. Going to finish things off. Canelo comes back. Canelo comes back. Brilliant, brilliant way to work back in it. Diego Slayer has to be kicking himself right now. Seemed like he had that thing completely sewn up, and next thing you know, Canelo back in the action, takes the victory. And what looked like potentially a good start to 1v1 for the DR, now in a lot of trouble. Canelo 1 game away from closing things out for Colombia and getting a good start for his squad in a very, very tough division. Man, looked like Diego Slayer completely had Canelo's number, but really, really solid play, good elixir management, enough to get up ahead and get some P.E.K.K.A.s down while still having troops both available for defense and to create pressure. The P.E.K.K.A. play from Canelo really, really struggling, or really, really rough for Diego Slayer. So we'll see if he does the same thing in game number 2. Do they blink? Do they change up their decks? Or does anybody want to run this one back one more time? Very central meta gameplay from Diego Slayer, and really seemed like it was going to pay off for a long time, but especially as we got deeper into that sudden death overtime, Diego Slayer began to sort of throw some elixir away at some of those troops, the P.E.K.K.A. in particular, really giving him a lot of trouble, and then also the tornado work of Canelo doing a good job of mitigating a lot of that damage and keeping Diego Slayer from making any really, really big moves. So well played to Canelo. All the ones came out in the chat earlier, and those ones so far carrying the day. So we'll be back with game number 2 in just a minute. And if you're a betting man, if you bet those ones, go ahead. You just won yourself absolutely nothing. There is no free emote, guys, to everyone in the chat who's been spamming it over and over again. There's no emote here. Sorry, you can make one up. Go ahead and make your own emote and then try to program it into the game and see what happens. But no free emote today, just really excellent Clash Royale, and it's been an exciting day so far. You gotta love international events like this, giving you something to root for. You know, it's fun to root for players that you like a lot, or maybe an esports organization you enjoy, but when it's your team, your country's colors, makes it all the much better. Let's go ahead and take a look at the game recap from that first 1v1 matchup. Canelo getting those Hog Riders down just enough, but really it was the EQ in the end that finished off the tower and provided a lot of solid support for those pushes. And the tornado play with the E-Wiz. 8 E-Wizes down, and that was really a big part of it. Let's see. Win for Canelo because first match there were connection issues for the DR. That's what is being said in chat right now by Hilmy, so really interesting. We'll see if that continues along for our game number 2. And Diego Slayer really kept the pace on. Really did keep the pace on. You can see cycled through very, very quickly over and over again, but not able to finish things off on the back end. And maybe that's an inexperienced thing. You know, there's some discussion of connection issues just coming up in the chat from Hilmy, but it didn't really look like connection problems so much in that moment. It looked like Canelo playing cool, playing calm, playing solid defense, making adjustments as time went on. And Diego Slayer maybe getting a little bit impatient there at the end. It is a fast cycle deck, and he does need to put pressure on, but did not get it done. And oh, it looks like, oh, interesting. That might have been what was coming up in the chat. It looks like there's game number 2 is being forfeited by the DR because of connection issues. So that's what that chat note was about. Oh my word. Okay, so there you have it. Colombia getting the victory over the Dominican Republic due to some sort of connection problem from the DR. What an interesting turn of events. So now Colombia getting the 2-0 sweep and moving ahead to the top of our leaderboard. So what an absolutely wild day from top to bottom. The U.S. falling to Peru, and then Colombia 1 game win away from closing things out. Doesn't end up needing it because of some other problems, and the DR dropping out here. And there you have it, Colombia and Peru coming out on top of Group C from their first day of match play. Of course, they do go full round robin. Each team does play the other 3 teams in their group, so plenty of opportunity both for the U.S. and for the DR to get back into this tournament. But definitely a tough turn of events for the DR at the end there, and kind of a shocking turn of events for a lot of teams today, for both Spain and for the U.S. If you're watching Group G action earlier today, Spain falling to Romania off of Flaw's brilliant performance, running through that really stacked lineup. And then, of course, Azili's closing things out for France against a Greece team that looked like they had a chance early on, and then by the time it got to 1v1, just did not have what it took to close out their opponents. So GG, well played to France for holding on. And rough go here for the DR. Gotta wonder if they can get those issues solved for the next time out. So that's going to be it for all of our gameplay today, unless something's coming back with the DR. If you haven't already, go ahead and follow NoTiltGG at NoTiltGG on Twitter so you can get all your updates and news, and of course links to other languages. If English is not your first language, we are having support with fan casts in a wide variety of languages, but English and Spanish, the 2 official languages here on the NoTiltGG channel. Let's go ahead and take a look at the schedule as it's coming up soon. And we just saw that 2-0, and here's what we saw today. Thank you very much for watching. That's going to be it for NoTiltGG. We will see you back here tomorrow with more international Clash Royale action.